Well, welcome back to the series Unlocked, where I talk to professional women of each Enneagram type that have some stressful situation in their workplace or personal life, and they're able to find a way to get out of it. My first guest is a type 8, Malissa Ivey. She's a good friend who does tax services, but it took her a little while to get there. So what's interesting about your story is being a pre-K teacher, you just have this boundless energy to help these little kids and just loved how you could smile and they smile back, right? There's just a lot of love there, it sounds like.
It was a very unique job, and we were kind of like pre-K teachers, but we were called early childhood teachers because we went in the home. So what I had was 40 children that were my students, and I saw them once a month with their parents from the time they were born until they turned 5 and got them ready for kindergarten.
Oh.
So we did developmental screenings, and yeah, there were some really fun moments. There were moments where I had kids hit me in the head with a baseball.
Oh, wow.
I had come from a home where there were heavy smokers, and I had made the mistake of doing a visit right after that. And the next visit, the little boy said, he always called me Jennifer, even though my name's Melissa. And I let him. That's what he wanted to call me. And he said, Jennifer, you stink. And I'm like, yeah, I probably do.
Because you're coming from the other location.
Yeah, exactly. So I was like, that needs to be a last house that I go to, and I don't need to go to anyone after that.
So you're willing to take on the fumes for yourself, but not for your little kid,
right?
The student.
Yeah.
So yeah, tell me when things started to get too stressful where I just don't know if I want to stay in this job.
I would say it was right around year 13-ish. There were things that happened before that, but I was like, I'm going to deal with this. I can do it. And right around then, there were just some things that my boss was doing that was very passive aggressive. And then I tried to apply to be a regular teacher on a campus, and she wrote me this glowing recommendation. It was so nice. She's organized. Melissa does this, does that. She's a great team player.
Yeah.
But my best friend was the assistant principal at the school, and there's a backdoor reference from someone within the district, and that was not nice.
Oh, So this was
so I did not get the job because of what she said.
Oh, and so this felt really manipulative on her part. Setting you up for disappointment just feels like a really mean thing to do. Instead of confront the wrongdoing, you avoid being the center of attention and remove yourself from interactions, which is your frustration arrow, the type 5.
Yeah, and then every year we had training, and our whole group would invite our group was called Parents as Teachers, and they would invite other of those early childhood teachers to that group.
Okay.
And I had gotten remarried, and this person used to be, before she passed away, was my best friend, but she was also in the program. So him and his children were in our program when they were little. And what she said at this meeting, while I was sitting there, nothing said to me ahead of time, you may not ever date anyone that has been in your program.
And so that was that.
But I was married to someone that was in our program. So what does that mean?
Yeah. Yeah. So there's a lot of inconsistency, and I imagine it would be hard to trust somebody.
Absolutely.
That is coming up with rules that were never there in the first place. Again, you're going to your frustration arrow because 5s hate surprises and anything that makes them look foolish.
It was like, say you bought a new outfit and you go into work and your boss is like, oh, that's awesome. I love that outfit. Man, I would have bought that too if I would have saw that. And then you wear the same thing the next week and they're like, I'm going to have to write you up because that's inappropriate. It was exactly like that.
Yeah.
I never knew what day I was doing something right or wrong. So then I requested to go off campus, and she did give me that permission. And unbeknownst, I don't know why she allowed me to do that, but I did that for 5 or 6 years. I hurt my knee during one of the visits with one of my children, and I was like, man, I really, twisted my knee, and because I have this special battery in my body, I can't get MRIs, so it's very difficult to know what happened. And I said, do I need to tell someone? And she's like, no, we don't tell anybody. And I'm like, oh,
yeah,
okay. So I just deal with a hurt knee.
Yeah,
and that's okay.
Yeah. So in that situation, you're really putting your body at risk, and you don't really have any kind of safety net there at all,
or trust.
Right. She invalidated your pain, so you just detach from your feelings. A very type 5 thing to do, which is your frustration arrow. So what kind of emotion is that bringing in you? This mistrust, this is my boss over the years that...
I just started working my tax business more in the evenings, started building more clients, and I got to the point where I was doing 2 full-time jobs, and I asked my husband, I'm like, I told him I don't want to do 2 full-time jobs, and he's like, then pick one. And I was like, great, I'm going to stay home and do taxes, and that's what I'm going to do.
So your way to deal with your fear is strategizing a plan to work independently, which, guess what, is again a type 5 characteristic, your frustration arrow.
So I gave her a 2-week notice, which is appropriate, right? Wrote it in a letter, August 24th. She said, no, you're a teacher. You'll leave when I tell you can leave. I said, okay. And the assistant principal at the school I was at said, why are you letting her do that to you? And I'm like, I don't know. I have no idea why I let her do that to me, but here I am. And so we had a staff meeting, and she says, or after the staff meeting, I sat her down and I said, I really don't like the fact that you are just going to tell me one day, pack your shit and leave, basically. And I said, it's very unfair when I gave you a timeline. And she's like, well, I'll make sure to give you a timeline. She still didn't tell me at that point. Then she hired someone to replace me. And then my last day was Friday the 13th.
Lovely. So it just sounds like even though you could fall in these potholes, right, when she would come up with some new way to show a power play, you just still would like power on. And what I'm noticing is, your strategizing is now coming from a place of power. Now you are in your high mastery 8 zone. I remember you saying that when you got in this group, that was a big game changer for you. It was a very supportive group, unlike with the teacher where you didn't ever know where you stood. Right. This was a place of safety.
Yeah, it really did become that. It's called Landmark. They have 3 different weekend sessions, and they're intense. They're 3 10-hour days. You are in it. It's intense. There's a lot going on, and they kind of break you down and bring you back up, right? They just make you see everything about yourself, and then let's see how we can put it back together. And had no expectations except my son, who is not always the most agreeable person in the world, had taken this class, and I really had saw some changes. And I'm like, hey, if he could do it, and he paid for me and his sister to do it. So I'm like, if he could do it, we could do it. So we did. And I got to the 3rd weekend and developed this nonprofit because we needed to do something in the community. And I have several family members that have committed suicide. So I started a nonprofit called Live for Tomorrow. And what we do is we raise money to give to LifeWorks, because there's people who qualify on the scale for free, and there's people who can afford for counseling. And then there's those people in the middle who are like, I'm either going to pay for counseling or have food on my table.
Oh, yeah, fell through the cracks.
So we give them money to help those people get scholarships. And during that time, my leader was like, you complain about your job every week you come here. Because I think actually that one was like a 16-week thing. We had to go every week. And it was a long process. And I'm like, I know. I hate it. I hate my job. And it's sad to say I love children. I love working with children, but I just do not feel safe at all. And it's really wearing me down. And so he's like, so what do you need to do? You know, and he's giving me all this feedback. What do you need to do? What is going to catalyst you to that next level? And I can't even tell you the exact moment. I can't tell you the exact moment that did that, because I went back to school that school year. We start in August, and I was ready to be a teacher, but I got a call from someone off LinkedIn that wanted to hire me to do taxes. And I'm like, what? No way. I'm like, there's no way. And they wanted to pay me 95 grand a year.
Oh,
teachers do not make that much.
So then you
I was like, yeah, I'm worth 95,000 a year. Like, what is that? I'm like, that's amazing.
Yeah. You never knew life could be that easy, right?
Yeah. And she was just really a nice, genuinely nice person, boss, you know, just seemed caring of her other employees. And she was very direct at what she wanted you to wear in the office. Thank you. Be clear. That's nice. Clarity is very calming, right?
So I was going to back up just a little bit, because when you were saying how Landmark was so instrumental in you making a transition, you didn't say, you know, this was just a piece of cake, because what you were telling me is somebody put a mirror in your face and was just showing you, this is what I see, this is what I see. And it was kind of like a little bit of deconstruction.
Yeah.
It's kind of like you had just fallen asleep to what was in your heart, really. Yeah. You know, that sounds like a lot of giving from a heart space. And, you know, good for you that you stuck with the process of Landmark. To obviously do a service that you believe in.
Yeah.
But then also this window of opportunity, because now you're making enough money to really get the funds going.
Exactly. Yeah. And so that was several years ago, right? That was in 2019, right before the pandemic.
Yeah.
Praise God that I didn't have to do that then. But it was very interesting. Also at that time, I had this feeling that something horrible was going to happen. And it was like panic and fear. And it was like, if you do not get out of this job, like you have to. And it was just there was just a lot of, I thought something was going to happen to my mom. And it wasn't. My niece's children were taken by CPS. The 2-year-old had swallowed meth. And so it was just a mess. They were living in a car in a parking lot. They didn't even have a house to live in. And so we had them for a year. So I needed to be there for them, and I wouldn't have been able to
if you were teaching.
Mm-mm.
No.
Mm-mm.
And this too big heart of yours, you know, it was the right move, you know, to take care of your family. And I'm just so glad you're finding the income you want, and you're able to serve in places you feel called.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It does. It definitely has gotten busy. I hired an employee this year because I'm like, I really need some help. I mean, I already had my daughter and my mom, but then my daughter started doing really well in her job. Basically, what I taught her helped her get a promotion at her job. And so she didn't need me anymore. And she's 25 and doesn't want to be working 6 days a week. So I released her of that and hired someone else to replace her. But my mom's retired, so she's good with her little part-time help for me. So it's been good. She's like, I always thought I would hire you, and now you hired me. And I'm like, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm so glad we have people like you in this world. You deserve all the good things in life. And thank you for sharing with us your big heart. And I'm just so happy you're in touch with this intent, using your energy and resources to do that. So it's been a pleasure talking with you today.
Thank you.